We got a hold of a couple of farmers that lived in southwest Iowa, southeast Nebraska area, and they said, "You want to do what? You're going to come fly a drone out here?"
Yeah.
So they came out and they brought their friends out to kind of watch. They were, curious and making jokes and things like. But we put up the results on the screen, which basically said, "This is healthy growing corn. These are weeds." Their demeanor changed 100%. That turned into financing round.
Hi, my name is Christian Salomon. I'm a partner with the law firm of Pillsbury, based in San Diego, and I'm a deal attorney. I get to work with all kinds of interesting companies, including a variety of San Diego's most promising startup and emerging companies. And today I'm sitting here with the CEO and co-founder of just one of those companies. It's Mike Ritter of SlantRange. SlantRange was just an idea not too long ago, and now it's a promising company with revenue, a lot of investment under its belt. The latest count is over 24 crops in 21 countries?
24 crops, yes.
And they've received accolades from the likes of Bloomberg News as 50 most promising startups. There's got to be some other stats. What other stats do you like to talk about when you pitch the company?
When we first got started, we won South by Southwest in Austin, Texas. That was a huge leg up for us.
Yeah. So today is just one of a series of conversations that we're lucky enough here at Pillsbury to have with the kinds of exciting visionaries and trailblazers just like Mike. So with that, why don't we chat a little bit about your story and SlantRange's story. So when you went to General Atomics, what was your first role there? And was it that the first step towards some of the things you're working on today?
But when I started at General Atomics, it was a project engineer is what we called it at the time. But
and what were you working on?
The military and intelligence drones that you might hear a lot about on on TV. We worked with what we called mission systems, which is all the cameras, the sensors, the lasers that are on board the aircraft. That are all designed to go measure things on the ground. So there's a part of the company that builds aircraft. We were the intelligence collection and the analytics tools on board the aircraft.
Okay. Why does an engineer want to be a CEO of a startup?
I don't think that's the way we originally thought about it. It was mostly just a desire to take on something of our own idea and see what we could do with it.
How did you and your founder meet, and why did you guys decide to do it together? What was the right thing about you and Mike?
Well, we were colleagues at General Atomics, and we had been working on some new programs. We were just a good fit.
Did you guys think about something else, or was there some other idea you were chasing? Did you think about starting a dating app, or?
We had a lot of really bad ideas. Well, we actually had a small group that we would get together one night a week and just brainstorm ideas. We decided we needed to focus on what are we really good at? What are we uniquely qualified to go out and do? Where's there a real market need? And finally, we wanted to do something that was meaningful, something that really would make a difference.
How'd you raise money being in San Diego? That's the story we hear all the time, is that there's not enough money in town for startups to raise money.
As it turns out, you helped us. Once we found a good lead investor, a number of others jumped in.
Yeah. Well, there's always that serendipity. I know that's how you got your first investors. I made an intro that worked out for your lead investor. We met basically accidentally before you were meeting one of my colleagues, and I just happened to be walking by. Obviously, with your background, you guys knew a lot about the drones, the sensors that can go on drones, but you were looking for that market. And I guess you guys decided that market was agriculture. What was that process like?
It was overwhelmingly methodical. We looked at all sorts of potential applications for what we could develop, and quickly arrived on agriculture as probably not only an enormous and important market for the entire world, but one that really was in dire need of better information for the entire production cycle.
Why is SlantRange going to succeed?
There are a lot of drones flying around fields, but I don't see any of them delivering the types of information that we are. It's the ability to tailor the information to the needs of the grower that's really going to, take off.
What is it like working with big farming operations in the Midwest?
It was a learning experience. I mean, our first trade show, it was an outdoor trade show on a very rainy weekend, and we were ill-prepared. One thing I learned is never wear a white polo shirt to an outdoor farm show.
What's been the hardest thing so far with SlantRange? What's the thing that kept you up at night?
Our hardest part, I think, was feeling like we knew this was the right solution and being able to communicate that to people. You step away from that big company and now you're just two guys with no brand recognition, no credibility. And so it's hard to get people to listen.
How did the two guys come up with the name SlantRange? Where does that come from?
It's actually a technical term. The slant range is actually the distance or the range between a sensor on board an aircraft and the target it's looking at on the ground. So we're at very low altitude over an agricultural crop, very low slant range, where we can deliver amazing types of intelligence products. So that's where the idea came from.
If we were going to look at drones and the ability to tap information out there, where do we stand in the life cycle of opportunities for new and emerging companies?
We are barely starting to scrape the surface of what I think the capabilities are. When you get up close with the right sensor, you can measure a lot of things. You know, the color of the plant tells you what types of pigments are in it, the size, the shape, the patterns of growth. You can begin characterizing these crops in ways that nobody has ever done before.
Yeah, what's the goal? How many crops? Right now there's over a dozen crops. When do you hit a peak?
Our original thesis was let's go after the high value crops. And after lots of analysis, as it turns out, in Napa County and Sonoma County Cabernet, some of the highest value per acre crops in the world. What we quickly discovered, however, is that the type of information you need to deliver to teach them something that they don't already know about their fields, the hurdle is quite high to jump. But if you go talk to a corn grower or a soybean grower or a wheat grower in the Midwest, the lands are so large, they have no ability to walk the fields and really discover what's going on in their fields. So with relatively rudimentary technology, we can deliver them insights that they just had never had before. So we got started really, corn, soybeans, that's where we kind of call that our bread and butter.
Has anybody asked you to fly over a cannabis field yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Not surprised.
As it turns out, it's indoors primarily. So you know. But another case of a very high value crop where you're probably better off just walking around looking at yourself for yourself. Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah.
Is there a setback that occurred, and afterwards you talked with Mike and said, "Wow, we might be done"?
There's a couple, but one early on sticks out. One of our trips back to Nebraska, we had raised some money from this investor group there, and what they did was put together a field day. They're going to bring out 50 farmers and agronomists to come watch a live demonstration over some corn and soybean fields in Nebraska.
Would that be your biggest group to watch it?
Oh, by far. Just as people are arriving, the drone flew into the side of the barn and left a giant streak down the side of the building. And there was a moment there where we thought that was it. But some guys noticed, I think, but they kind of turned away. Yeah. But fortunately, we had backup equipment. So we got back up on our feet pretty quickly.
How many drones have you lost?
Several.
Several.
Yeah. Early on, we lost a lot, but we've drones actually. I mean, we don't produce the drones. We make the sensors and the software, but they've improved radically just couple of years that we've been working with these.
Yeah. How big can SlantRange be? Do you grow beyond San Diego? Do you need to be in the Midwest?
You don't have to be. I mean, today everybody is in San Diego, and we have customers operating in 21 countries currently, and we've never stepped foot outside the U.S. On any sales missions or anything like that. We always thought that we would initially target local markets, and we had a plan for doing that, but customers have been finding us from overseas.
How's that possible?
Internet. We put together our materials, and people find us. There's a lot of interest in this technology, and I got to admit that we are riding a wave of buzz that was not created by us.
If drones have just scratched the surface, what in agriculture comes next that doesn't compete with SlantRange, but is something else that a drone should be used for in your world?
Right. The holy grail in the space that we're working in is not just a system that can go deliver information to growers, but can really close the loop. Once you marry up the sensors that tell you where to do the spraying with the system that can spray it in an autonomous manner, now you've got really automated farming. At much, much lower costs, and that just makes everything much more efficient.